Hello and welcome to Philosophy Vibe, the channel where we discuss and debate different philosophical ideas. Today we're going to be discussing toleration. Now, toleration can briefly be defined as allowing the existence of other people's beliefs, actions or practices, even though you do not follow, agree or even like them. Yes, I understand. So even though you do not agree with a particular act or belief or way of life, at the same time, you do not believe this should be banned or disallowed. You tolerate it. You accept its existence, even though you dislike it. Exactly. So, do you think toleration is generally a good thing? Yes, I do. Why? Because it promotes one's autonomy and allows people to live as they choose. Within a tolerant society, we do not have to be forced to live a certain way. We can be who we want to be. Toleration promotes freedom and liberty and reduces any kind of social stigma one can face with how they choose to live. It enables the minorities to live and not be threatened by the majority, coercing them to conform to their lifestyles. Okay, so do you believe a society should practice complete and universal tolerance? Yes, I do. Well, what do you make of the tolerance paradox? What's that? This was raised by Karl Popper. He argued that a true tolerant society would in fact end up tolerating the intolerant. Popper claimed that unlimited tolerance must lead to the disappearance of tolerance. If we extend unlimited tolerance even to those who are intolerant, if we are not prepared to defend a tolerant society against the onslaught of the intolerant, then the tolerant will be destroyed and tolerance with them. Yes, I see the problem. So then, does toleration in fact need intolerance to survive? Well, yes, I would agree. Even though this seems like a contradiction, it seems true toleration needs to be intolerant of the intolerant. Okay, good. So this leads me to the question, where should we draw the line between what is tolerable and what is submissive and bordering on being taken advantage of? What do you mean? Well, we wouldn't want to live in a society that tolerated all types of behaviour, because this would allow the practice of horrible and evil actions. For example, we wouldn't tolerate murder or theft. Oh, okay, I see what you mean. Well, Millian liberalism takes the approach that tolerance should be promoted. We should be tolerant of how anyone wants to live, provided that what we are tolerant of is not harming anyone else. This is known as the harm principle. John Stuart Mill argues, the only purpose for which power can be rightfully exercised over any member of a civilized community against his will is to prevent harm to others. So, Mill's liberalism was a promotion of individual liberty, so toleration is seen as something to be desired. However, Mill accepted that too much tolerance can have negative effects, so with the harm principle, we can be tolerant of one's behaviour unless it poses a threat to another person. So things like theft or murder, these acts clearly cause harm and will not be allowed. Okay, so we can be intolerant to the actions that cause harm to others, I understand. But even with the harm principle, toleration can still run into its own contradictions. How so? Think of driving, for example. Driving cars has harmed a lot of people. It's killed many people over the years through car crashes and people getting run over. Therefore, innocent people are potentially at threat of harm every day because of cars. Does this mean we should not tolerate people driving? Should we ban the use of cars? I don't see this as a problem. Sure, people driving cars does harm some people, but overall it's a benefit to society, so I don't really think it violates the harm principle. Ah, see, but now you're using the utilitarian principle when it comes to toleration, and this leads down its own problems. Should we then tolerate something if it brings harm just as long as it brings more good? Also, the harm principle only deals with harm to others. Do we then tolerate those who pose harm to themselves? Should we allow people to take hard and dangerous drugs if their actions do not harm anyone else? What about suicide? Should we not restrict or stop someone trying to take their own life because they do not pose a threat to anyone else? Should tolerance allow the self-destruction of the individual? I wouldn't like to see an individual destroy themselves. We are humans, we make mistakes, so I feel something should be in place to protect people from themselves. Exactly. Maybe the harm principle can be expanded to harm to the individual as well as others, so we do not tolerate actions that could harm the individual as well. Well, now we must be careful because we could start unnecessarily interfering in people's lives because we perceive their actions as harmful to themselves. This can lead to the curbing of individual freedoms and liberty and ultimately an intolerant society. How so? Well, do we ban the smoking of cigarettes because it causes harm to the individual, even if an adult wishes to smoke knowing the dangers? Should society prohibit this action and be intolerant of smoking? What about alcohol? This of course causes harm. Should a society not tolerate the sale and consumption of alcohol in adherence to the harm principle? How about fast food? One could even argue that unprotected intercourse could potentially be harmful. Should we then ban all intercourse outside of a monogamous relationship? This is starting to sound like a controlling, totalitarian society rather than a tolerant one. Good point. This is becoming a difficult theory to balance. So, if toleration didn't exist, people could be deprived of any freedom and be completely controlled by the majority. Although, if there was too much tolerance, the small but evil minority will start affecting the freedom of others. If we keep tolerance within the harm principle, this would allow the toleration of self-destruction, yet if we stretch the harm principle to protect self-harm, this can then spiral out of control to a nanny state and effectively an intolerant society. Exactly. The best I can say is that we use our reason and our rationality to find the happy medium in between all this chaos. I suppose this is the job of the philosopher, to use our reasoning to find the virtue, to find the balance, the use of tolerance and intolerance for the best possible world. Interesting. Well, that's all the time we have for now. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed the vibe. And what are your thoughts? How tolerant should a society be? And what freedoms should be restricted? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Take care and we'll see you all soon. Bye bye.